Matua Nuki Aldridge, Ngāpuhi ki Whaingaroa, Rataroa. Whaingaroa historian and one of the treaty negotiators for Whaingaroa, also chairperson for Whangaroa Māori Trust Board and well-respected leader for his people of Whaingaroa.
Kia ora, we mihi atu nā kia koe. Me mea te mihi kia koe, haere mai, haere tawhiti mai. Ki waingani a tātou i tēnei rā i te mahi wene mahi. Nā, koe, kei tērā te mihi. Ai tika rā tō kōrero i roto i te kaupapa e kōrero nei tāua. Kia tāua he mahi taure karaka. Te whakamomori a wā le āhua. A wangana te whakaaro ki tērā āhuatanga. Engari e paina. You know, I need to thank you for taking time out to come here, Uti, to listen. Whether I've got anything to put, but I do have a perspective on what is happening. And my perspective is we have to look at the societies that we live in. You know, we live in a dual society. We live in a Pākehā society and a Māori society. And how I see that impacted from my own personal point of view in research, I suppose if you might call it that. And that is let's consider Māori society for what it is. It's quite ancient. And because it's quite ancient as opposed to the Pākehā culture, or the Pākehā psyche, if I may put it that way, rather than culture, and the Māori psyche, they're so ancient, the Māori one is, that they have a different perspective on society, on how society live. You know, when you have a look at the Pākehā society, what they've done to us in the last couple of 100 years, they've actually divided us into age groups. You understand what I mean? I mean, we send our children to kindergartens and areas like that. And then we send our other children to another school as an age group from 5 to 15 or whatever you want to call it. And then you send them to another school from 15 on to whatever that group is. And then you divide our society, our mothers and our fathers with their children into another group of the society, which says that we're not interacting with one another. Hey. You get the children that are coming together and there's bullying going on because they're trying to find a level within the children in even kindergarten. You find the bullying in the schools because there's only one age group and they're trying to find a level of who's going to be the boss and so on. If you can follow where I'm going with this, which means that the young people don't have a role model with an older group along the way, including the parents and that. They don't have their grandparents sort of to model off because we put them in old people's homes and stuff like that. The thing is, when we have a look at that particular society, we even find the marae now is not actually functioning as what it was intended. Now, when we have a look at the marae today, we're just having meetings. Our education system, like I said, has put down, we have got now kohanga which is shoved out into one corner. That's not a derogatory remark either. I'm not saying they're shoved off the one corner, but they're there in the one place. And we've got a kura kaupapa in another place. Yeah. And we've got a wānanga in another place. All those things used to happen on the marae, and all age groups used to participate. Yeah. Koe rātera I mua. Ngā mahi, haere tātou I te Ngāpuhi mua, I reira ngā tamariki, the kids were there, the parents were there, and the tupunas were there, so we were all interacting with one another. So the thing is if a marae concept is brought back into play, you have to bring all of that stuff back into play. Given an opportunity for the Māori psyche, or the Māori tikanga to come and play a role, because I get the impression, even you and I, in our walk through life, we got involved with gangs, You know, personally me, I got involved with a bikie gang when I was young. That was me. I was one of those cowboys, as they call it. But we went there because we lost sight of our family. It wasn't at home here that happened. It was when I went into the city. And I put that down to looking for a group of people that's like you. And we had that at home. We had our elders to go to. We could play with their younger ones, or we can play with the same age group as we have, but they were there. In this modern society, none of that's available there. So we have gangs, and those gangs had to be seen, had to be understood to understand where they're coming from my perspective anyway. Koe tērā taku titiro, Witi, and that's probably where our young people are looking at and saying, well, what is there in it for me? What is there for me? Koe tērā tō rātou titiro ki te ahutanga, and they're looking hard to find that link to what is deeply embedded in them, because the old saying goes, you can take the person out of a culture, but you can't take the culture out of a person, ne? Hapua haere koe ki here. You still be a bloody Māori. Nā reira, when they're in that other society and they're looking out as it, oh, where's my tikanga, where's my Māori stuff, you know? And they kind of get lost because there's nobody there to tell it. There's no kōrero or kuia or their kaumātua or their leaders to actually tell them. They only got their parents, and their parents are hard push working to earn the bread and butter for the family. So, you know, so we lose touch with one another and our young people. Now with the older people, because they've suddenly find that they've lost way somehow, or some of them will get lonely, or mate te hoa, and they left out in the cold. And they got nobody to turn to because their society is saying, you're in a kōrero section, ne? And you're responsible inside your fence. You can't go next door and say, hey, look, I'm lonely, can I talk to you? They'll say, hey, piss off back to your, ne? Koe tērā te kōrero te society, witi. I'm trying to give a perspective, ne? Koe au kōrero pēnei. I want to be open with it so people can understand where I have a lot of concern, because I got a lot of mokopuna, and I've lost one through this taurakaraka thing, you know. So I understand how people are feeling, and they're trying to look for an idea, and I'm only putting my thoughts to you, so you can have a look at it to say, well, is it or isn't it? Koe tērā taku titiro. If it's a bit confusing, it's the way my brain is running away with itself at the moment. I gotta put it to us this way, you know, and I put it back because of my age. I can probably say that when my mother was alive, I'll use her as an example. He Māori tūturoia, tana reo Māori, tana hua, tana tikanga katoa wera mea katoa whakalitenga, warātou kawa Māori. But she was reaching into the Pākehā world, and she was pushing us there for her sake, ne? Go and learn the Pākehā ways. That's koe wera wana kōrero. Engari I roto I wera kōrero, mai na tana kupu kiau, e maharani wana kōrero. While you're out there, koe wara ki te treaty o Waitangi. Koe tērā te hereng o tau te Pākehā, ne? Alright, so I went out in the Pākehā world. Now, I went there and I learned about the Pākehā world, and I kept my kids in there. So my kids are aged between 50 odd and 40. That's my children. But then their children are actually reaching back into the Māori world, to reaching where my mother was. There. Yeah, so you see, understanding that my mother was reaching into the Pākehā world, trying to understand it. Now our Pākehā taught kids are reaching into the Pākehā, into the Māori world, trying to understand it. So we have a limbo, and the limbo is you and I, ne, and our kids. And they're the casualty, Ewiti, I tō pātai. They're the casualty because the kids beyond that are the kohanga kids. and the kura kaupapa kids, and they're the ones that are searching. They're looking back into this Māori society and wondering what it is. Now you and I, the answer to your question for you and I is for us to drive that and try and reach that society and bring it back into perspective for us as a people. If it's to reawaken the marae, so be it. But I think we have to. E maharana te kōrero a te taumata way back in 1997, they had a hui at Mangamuka. And the question was asked there, how te hura? Tā rātou kupu kōrero, go back and rebuild your hapū. Ne? Ka ino e mai, and then what? And then learn to talk to one another. Ne? And you know, there's so much wisdom in that kōrero. I haven't forgotten it. Because to rebuild your hapū, a lot of people don't understand what a hapū structure is. Ne? We understand that I belong to one, you belong to one, but what is it that we're talking about? And our people way back in the Whaingaroa and the kura kaupapa are reaching in trying to find out what that is. Now, koe tera te mea nau with us at the moment, Witi, is that your mother and my mother and our parents reached into the Pākehā world. Now the Māori are actually reached, and the casualty are you and I and our children. They're the casualty. But you and I still remember the tikanga, and that's the thing that we've got to drive to make sure that our younger people that are reaching in know it's there for them. Koe tera. E tēnei wā, me pēnei tau kōrero te tau reo e wite aho kohu anō ku whakaaro ki tēra. I te mea, kore anō i rongo i wā tātou tamariki e kōrerona. Ne rongoni a tau e kōrerona, e rongoni ngā mātua e kōrerona. E mōhiona ki ngā āhuatanga o ngā kaumātua e mahi ane tēnei mahi taurekareka. Kia ora, I understand the impact on some people when they feel lonely. You know, when I lost my mate, I felt lonely for a bloody long time. And it was hard, and I was lucky I met another woman that dragged me out of that. If it wasn't for her, I'd have been gone by now. I'd have been gone because I wouldn't have taken my life, but I would have stopped caring. I wouldn't have gone to a doctor to fix my leg. I wouldn't have gone to a doctor to fix my heart. I would have just said, nah, bugger it, let it go. So I would have been gone by now. And those are the things that impact on older people sometimes. And sometimes it's to do with money, because you know, we understand how it is with the Māori, with the Pākehā ideology of capitalism. You know, you've got to have money to progress in this world. And because you're taken off your land, you have no relationship to land, so you can't go back there and have us what we call the, you know, tau e koronoe, ukaipo, our place of safety. We don't have those places anymore, that place of safety, because even if you go back to your whenua, to your place of safety within your whānau, within your hapū, it's got Pākehā laws over it. Yeah. And those are the area for the older people. So I understand the loneliness and all those things that are happening with them, and why some of them take their life, because there's no answer. Maharana ki tēnei kōrero. Ke aroha ki o tātou wahine, ko rātunga me hei tangi mau i tō matanga, ne? And if you haven't got anybody to cry for you, then you've got no future. Koe rā tēra te kōrero. Nā ki wā tāua tamariki, kore anō i rongo i wā rātou kōrero, e rongo atu nei i ngā rātou mahi tō rātou matanga, i raro i tēnei āhuatanga te mahi taurekareka te. I can understand some of the things, but really until I hear what they have to say, then I can suggest that we move a bit faster with what we're doing for their sake, rather than lose so many more. I think te mea nui he whakahuihui ngai ngā kaumātua. Mea nau ngā kaumātua in a sense. Those elders that are in a leadership role, ne? Ko rātou ngā kaiarahi o wairani o wairani. Now, within there, because what I learned from the kaumātua Ngāpuhi that I work with the witi is that they got a lot of skill, they got a lot of passion, a lot of compassion, and they have nothing to gain from anything. They're not out there to be a millionaire. They've already tried that and it failed. Well, some of us failed anyway. But what they've got is a lot to offer, a lot to offer to drive this thing, to bring it back. And one of the things that we've got to recoup is the mana of our tikanga, the mana of our reo, the mana of our artwork, the mana of our capabilities at the Māori, the mana of our psyche, which is thousands of years old. We've got to try and recover that now.